Welcome to episode 28 of the Realtor for Hoopers interview series. Today, the guest is a graduate of Mountain Vista High School and the owner of Bach State Athletics, Elijah Valdez.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Every time I flick the wrist, you can bet that it's a swish. Realtor for Hoopers, welcome to the main event. I'ma give the people what they ask for. Whole squad moving like a task force. We move with military precision, accomplishing any mission. In 2020 division, just don't see no competition, don't see no opposition. We on top of the game, we not one and the same. I'm Stephen Curry, the range, I Allen out with the cross. I'm Kobe Bryant, the fade, I'm one that's calling the plays. Now what else more can I say?
Question we start everyone off with, and sometimes it can be a hard question to answer, but because you can start wherever you want, but tell us your basketball story.
So I grew up around the game. My dad was an athlete growing up in high school and played for Lincoln High School down in Denver. Actually, growing up, I really wanted to be a skateboarder. So 5, 6 years old, I'm watching Tony Hawk. You know, I'm going to the Boom Boom Huck Jam at Pepsi Center back in the day.
Watch him do his 540.
Exactly,
like that,
all the tricks he was doing. And I told my dad, you know, this is what I want to do. And my dad, being the athlete that he was, concerned for his kid. I don't want you to get hurt. I want you to, you know, be doing something that's safe. He used to just turn on ESPN every morning. Okay. And the guy that I really was attracted to growing up was watching Kobe Bryant play, watching him light up guys for 81 when, you know, I'm 10 years old or however old I was. So just continually seeing that and watching basketball as a young kid was really what turned me into a hooper and wanted to play basketball. And actually my first game ever, I scored my first basket ever on the wrong basket. So as soon as I knew, like, hey, I could get a bucket right now, you know, then I was like, okay, I could do this more regularly, but on the right side of the court next time. So, so everything ended up turning out pretty well. Had a decent career at Mountain Vista, like you said. Ended up playing college basketball at various schools and really chased the dream till the wheels fell off. And just was, you know, just very fortunate to play as long as I did and have a good basketball career.
For sure, man.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it is kind of interesting to how people get into the game. There's lots of different ways and avenues people do it. And yeah, Kobe was a big guy for me. I got a Kobe bobblehead on my dash right now because he was a big inspiration to me too. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Well, next question I had for you. I contacted the current Mountain Vista High School coach, Brian Wood, and asked him, hey, what's a question I could ask you, and something that give me a little inside scoop kind of thing. And so he told me to ask you what the back then Bob Wood, Brian's dad, said to you during a film session.
Absolutely. So let me set the scene here a little bit, actually, because I don't want to go and defame Bob. You know, Bob is a great guy, still a family friend. The Woods, the whole family, just a wonderful family, and they mean so much to me and to my family as well. So still very connected with them. If any of you have ever met me, if you know me, I got a little chip on my shoulder. I've had that my whole life. I had it when I was playing. I had it kind of the demeanor that got me to the level that it got me to, you know? So I'm giving Bob a hard time. I'd been giving him a hard time for the beginning of the year. I was playing JV as a sophomore. I thought I was a little bit better than that, you know? So I had this smug look on my face. We're going through film study, and Bob sees the little smug look on my face and says, "What's the matter with you?" And didn't say anything, didn't give him the response I think he was looking for. And he said, "Oh man, I could just rip your head off and spit down your throat." So that was one of those moments we still joke about. Like I said, I love that man. He's a huge reason I'm successful in basketball. So no defamation there, but one of those moments that's bonded us together forever.
Yeah, you'll never forget what he said and how he said it to you in that moment.
Absolutely. And you know, I ended up having a good sophomore season, played varsity for him for the next couple of years, and again, man, a huge reason I ended up playing college basketball and had a successful career.
How about this? How about we'll frame the story as it's what brought you together?
Absolutely.
It's what brought...
there's no bond better than that, right? Just some gentle bullying. That's how brings people together.
Just some attacking words and gentle bullying.
Right, I love
brings two people closer together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it, man. Well, sweet. Well, so now you've started Bach State Athletics.
Yep, absolutely.
And so I guess kind of tell us about why you started that, what the mission behind it, you know, what your goals are, kind of just open the floor up to that.
Absolutely. I was never a club basketball player, so growing up, I didn't have the opportunity to do that. I saw what it did for other players recruiting. It gave them the opportunity to go play at different schools and get a little bit more looks. Obviously, if you're more visible, you're going to be more seen. And that was something that I wanted to do for kids that didn't have an opportunity. Maybe it was a cost thing, maybe it was an accessibility thing. So I wanted to give more kids the opportunity to find a way to play the game, you know, and just do it at a high level and compete in the best states tournaments in the state, and really just give kids the opportunity to have a basketball in their hand more regularly. So my dad and I started it together a few years ago, just continually grown. We're projected to have 7 or 8 teams this summer, which is a huge growth from, you know, our one team that we were practicing in an elementary school carpeted gym. So quite a bit of growth that we've had over the course of the couple years. And then I think the second part of that is we noticed an interesting culture around basketball in Colorado. I feel like there's a lot of politics that are involved. I think there's a lot that goes into play when playing club sports, and that was something we intended to take out of the game. We don't have any parents coaching for our organization. All of our coaches are paid, so we feel like we put a team in place that really wants to help kids succeed. And I think there's not a lot of clubs that do that in the state. There definitely are some. You know, my good buddy Garrett Baggett, what he's doing at Premier. Derek Griffin, what he's doing at Hardwood, Stephen Basita, what they're doing at Denver Rain. Some really good programs in the state that are really about kids. But then, you know, we run into some that are maybe some money grab or, you know, a lot of politics involved. So, like any business, right? You find the good ones and you find the bad ones. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's great, man. Yeah, I think in the world we live in on the basketball scene, where being part of a club team is not only an important part of your development, because especially as a young player, like, I think you always get better when you're playing against people that are either at your level or better than you.
Absolutely.
And so if you're at that level, you need to be exposed to just playing against those people, no matter if you have the money to be part of that program or not. But sometimes you don't have access to that level of game, no matter what age you are, until you play club ball. So it's not only good for the development of that individual player, but it's also, it's so much more part of recruiting now. And it's so much part of like what your opportunities you get as a player is how you get seen is on the club scene more than it is on the high school scene or and things like that. So I think it's good that you're at least allowing kids to get started early and kind of develop within your program at an early age.
And I think it's a stylistic thing too. I mean, you cross the highway and kids play differently than they do in Douglas County.
Oh, for sure.
And then you go even further, you go to Texas, you go to California, you go to the East Coast. The styles of basketball are different. So giving kids the opportunity to see so many different types of the game and different ways to play the game at a high level, I think it only bodes to the advantages that they'll have when they get to the college level or even just to the high school level. So,
for sure. Yeah, I agree. Well, good, man.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, so the next question I have is, I guess, if we give you an opportunity to kind of shout out some people and why they mean so much to you. So kind of what are some people that have inspired you, mentors, coaches, whoever do you think that has been people that have really kind of got you where you are today?
Absolutely. I think I already name dropped a couple of them. You know, the Wood family, Bob and Brian, very, very close with them. My mom actually worked in Douglas County schools and worked for Brian's wife. She was a principal at a school and my mom was a child care director. So very well connected with that family, and they've just done so much for me and, you know, just allowed me to have the platform that I have with basketball. Another one, Garrett Baggett. He's a younger guy than me, but I really look up to him for what he's done in the basketball community. I learn a lot from him about the game and, you know, technique and strategy and how to coach the right way. So he's been another huge impact on my life. And then I got to give a huge shout out to my parents, man. They've been a really huge driving force in, you know, obviously the basketball stuff, but also just trying to be a good person and delivering things the right way and making sure we're putting the right message into everything that we do.
Great. Do they still live close by?
Yeah, they actually Highlands Ranch people still. My mom actually just retired from the district recently. My dad just launched a Christian radio station. So they're doing some cool stuff in the community too, man.
Really
and
cool.
I just want to follow in the footsteps of what they're doing.
That's really cool. That's really cool. All right, cool. All right, well, next question is a little bit more of a fun basketball question. So I had this idea to ask you, and I'm hoping I frame it right. So you got to have a starting five. So you got to have a guy per classic position. And you got to have one from every decade, 80s to the 2020s. So 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. So you got to have one guy, and you got to fill all starting five spots. I will debate with you if I have a different opinion and whatever.
Okay. So it has to be position based, right? But can I get a little loose with the position?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think if we're starting in the 80s, and we're going based on when they were drafted.
I would say based on the prime of their career.
Okay. So this changes it a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. So you have to based on where they made most of their.
Okay. So then I think.
So for instance, I would say LeBron doesn't qualify for the 2020s.
Okay.
Because the meat of his career is in another decade, not in the 2020s.
Well, that guy has 3 careers.
I know.
So you could put him.
He's got 3 Hall of Fame careers actually. So, but do you get what I'm saying there?
Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha.
I think if I would pick a player from the 80s, I don't think we got to see a large volume of his career. I think he could have gone for years longer. I think Magic Johnson has to be one of the guys. I think he's the prototypical big point guard that we're starting to see in every team, and people are trying to find that. You see it in Cade Cunningham. I think Michael Carter-Williams back in the day was one of those guys that was kind of that prototype.
But even but people figure about it too. But even like Luka's in the news a lot right now. Luka's 6'7".
Right. It's crazy.
He's a big guy.
He's Charles Barkley, right? That's what Charles Barkley was as a power forward.
Exactly.
So it's crazy.
Anyway, so Magic is your 80s guy.
Magic's got to be my 80s guy.
Point guard.
I think you can't go wrong with Michael Jordan at your 2 guard.
Okay. 290s.
I think if I can squeeze LeBron into that 2000s era right there, he was reaching championships in that decade.
I'm good with that.
And then 2010s, this is probably the one that I have the most difficulty. There's a lot of good players, but I'm a Nuggets guy, so I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic. 2010s to 2020, he had a lot of meat in his career. And then the 2020s, I think this guy is going to change the game. If he gets some help around him, if he stays healthy, if he continues to progress the way he is, it's got to be Victor Wembanyama, man. He's just unbelievable, just a freak of nature, really.
For sure. And, I mean, they did just get De'Aaron Fox, so that helps. But, he's – I don't know. It's one of those things in my head is especially with Victor, I'm like, is it next year? Is it the year after? When is he yep, that's the best guy now?
Right.
Because, he's
close.
I'm saying, you could make an argument he's easily top 10 right now.
On both sides of the floor, he's got to be the most complete player in the league, man.
It's just nuts.
It's crazy.
It's great. So we differ on one guy.
Okay.
So we have 4 of the same guy. So my point guard's Magic.
Okay.
Shooting guard is Jordan.
Okay.
I put Kobe in for the 2000s.
Ooh, okay. That's good.
And then I put LeBron in for the 2010s.
Okay.
And then I put Jokic for the 2020s.
Okay. So just a little bit of movement.
A bit of movement. So
I think my lineup,
again, it's just I can't, I got to have.
Got to have Kobe in there.
If it involves the 2000s, I got to have Kobe in there.
My argument with that is Kobe is a carbon copy of Jordan to me. So I think having a little bit too much of that ego, that bravado on the floor might be a little detrimental.
Yep.
And then I think if I can play Wemby or Jokic at the 4 or the 5, that makes us a little more versatile on defense. I got a point forward in Jokic. So
I love it.
That's how I like it.
I like it. It's just like the Mount Rushmore or whatever. There's no wrong answer to this question. It's just kind of a fun way to think of it.
Well, and they're all so different, and they're all unique in their styles of play, except for Kobe and Jordan. Yeah. I think they're all they all do something incredibly well, and I think you could actually make that happen when time travel becomes a thing. I want to see that. It's the first thing I'm doing.
I love it. The what I do like about your team now that I think about it is Jordan can be the alpha, no questions asked.
Right.
As far as personality, he's the alpha. They're all great players, but he would be the alpha in the room.
Yep.
Where if Kobe and Jordan were in the same room, they both would just be at each other and who's.
Absolutely.
So, anyway.
And I think we've seen LeBron do that. Take a back seat to some players later in his career. I think he'd be able to do that to some other guys.
So that's cool. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So 2 more questions. The second to last question is, if anything, whether you've said it or not, but what is something that you want to make sure that kind of people take away from your story, whether it's on or off the court?
Yeah. I think that there's something, especially recently, that I've kind of discovered about myself is that there's really nothing stopping us as people from achieving anything that we want to achieve except for ourselves.
Yeah.
So if you're not taking action, that's ultimately going to be the thing that stops you from doing what you want to do. I mean, look at what you're doing with your podcast. Look at what you're doing with your real estate business. Same thing I'm trying to achieve with Buck State. I think that the only thing that hinders us as people is inaction. So if you're listening to this, I think that the number one thing I want you to do is start today. There's no time like the present. And if you get rolling today, then you're going to start linking some days together, and one day turns into 10, and 10 turns into 100. And before you know it, you're doing something you never believed you would be.
Man, I love that so much. I think people get hindered by, if I can't do all of it right now, I'm not going to start. So it's like, I even tell people that, okay, you have a dream and you can't quit your day job. That doesn't mean you can't devote 30 minutes a day to learning some skill that gets you closer to your dream down the line.
Absolutely.
You know, like, especially in the day we live in where there's a whole bunch of free training, a whole bunch of free information out there.
Absolutely.
You can access it really quickly, you know. So trying to just get closer to that. So no matter how small you think the step is, just make progress, man. It'll just, all those wins stack up on top of each other. And like you said, you'll surprise yourself one day where you're at.
Well, and I think to take that even one step further, I think we're all ingrained with these limiting beliefs that have kind of been programmed into us, not just from our parents, but from generations past. You know, in the past 100 years, it was the safe move to work at one company for 50 years and you grind away and you retire there. And then, you know, the age of information has kind of changed the business dynamic. And like you said, you can access it all within an instant. So there's no reason to not be finding a way to improve every day.
I love it, man. Love it. That's very powerful. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, last question is, what is your favorite thing about basketball?
Ooh, that's tough, man. There's a lot of good things. I think March Madness in March, I love that work kind of dies down a little bit. I think that's why I like basketball in March. But if you ask me any other time, I think it's because of the skills that it incorporates in your life. Not just from, you know, playing the game, but the relationship that you and I have now, the relationship that we have in the basketball community, and the ability to kind of partake in a community that's bigger than yourself. I think that's the first thing. And then going back to the skills thing, I think being able to learn how to play nicely in a team environment, being able to communicate with other people. And I think a lot of that stuff translates into the professional life and ultimately allows you to build better relationships and become a better person through the process. Yeah,
man, I love that. So I'll tell you a little story kind of along those lines. So my wife played college basketball. So luckily we really connect on that. And there's been multiple situations where, whether it's a kind of hardship within our marriage or as a family or whatever, we end up like putting it into basketball terms. Like, okay, we've done this, we've made this progress, and now we've hit a kind of a hurdle. Okay, we're down 6 with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. What are we going to do? We're going to continue to show up, or what are we going to, you know, like put it in those framings, because it is just helps you, like, once you've been through the good and bad in the sport and all that, it just helps you. And most team sports do that too, but like, it's just really cool to have something that teaches that stuff besides just your parents talking to you when you're young.
Well, and I think that's the competitor in you too, right? It makes you gamify everything you're doing in your life almost, as, you know, whether you're a salesperson or you're an operations person or starting your own business, right? Like, if you can create ways to gamify it and create a reward system for yourself when tasks are completed, or you come back from down 6 with 2 minutes left, right? If you can find a way to overcome those adversities and build confidence in yourself, I think that's when you truly start to see the potential you have in yourself, and the successes start to compound on that.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you making the time to be on the podcast. I think there's a lot of powerful things that you said. And all the people you gave a shout out to, I think they'll love that as well. But I really appreciate what you're doing in the basketball community.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to make, there's a domino effect that you maybe never even see part of that. And I think you already know that. But I appreciate the time, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me. Realtor for Hoopers, man.
I love it.
Every time I flick the wrist, you can bet that it's a swish. Realtor for Hoopers, welcome to the main event.